Hi, I'm David Johnson, and this is Verse by Verse. Where do you live? I don't mean what geographical location your home is in. I mean, where's the part of you that makes you the person you are? Most of us would immediately agree that our personality, our memories, our decision-making abilities are all concentrated in the brain. The adult human brain only weighs about 3 pounds, yet it contains 86 billion neurons, and it is protected in what we might describe as a warm, moist, bony cave. In one sense, we're all cave dwellers. So, how do we cave dwellers make sense of the world in which we live? Humans arrive on the scene equipped with 5 basic senses that enable us to be aware of our environment: vision, hearing, taste, touch, and smell. It's truly amazing to grasp the processes by which each of these senses gathers information and sends it to specialized areas in the brain, where it is processed almost instantaneously into a coherent understanding of what's taking place around us. Science tells us that 80% of the information we take in comes to us through our eyes, and another 10 to 11% through our ears. That makes me think of one of my favorite verses from the book of Proverbs. Proverbs 20, verse 12. The hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord has made them both. If you believe as I do, that God is the one who created all things, including the human senses, that verse might seem like a no-brainer. I mean, it's kind of obvious that if he created everything, he must have created the senses of hearing and seeing too. So there must be something more to this verse. Let's see if we can dig a little deeper. The first obvious lesson is that these senses are amazingly complex, and if any one part ceases to function, the entire system is useless. Some refer to this as irreducible complexity, and many of us would see this as evidence of what is commonly called intelligent design. The more deeply we study these senses, the more we are in awe of the mind that was capable of designing and creating them. And the proper sense of awe can be very important. In fact, Scripture tells us it is the foundation of both knowledge and wisdom. But that's really only the beginning. This same passage tells us there is nothing hidden from the God who created us. If he can create the ear and the eye and all that goes into the process of hearing and seeing, there is nothing he fails to hear and see. That's sobering if a person thinks he can get away with disobeying God. But it's also tremendously comforting when life seems to be spiraling out of control. This passage also reminds us that the God who created these senses has given them to us for our good. Humans are able to enjoy a rich variety of musical sounds and colorful works of art. Many animals have senses that are perfectly attuned for the environment in which they live, but few animals are able to perceive the rich palette of colors and sounds we humans can enjoy. The creator of our senses intends them to be used for right purposes, but all too often, humans use them to see and hear that which is sinful and destructive. The God who gave us our senses for good will not be pleased if we abuse his gifts. Finally, those physical senses also lead us to another important spiritual lesson. Jesus' disciples were puzzled about why he was speaking to the crowds in parables instead of teaching plainly so they could understand. He surprised them by saying he did not intend for most people to understand at that time. But he explained to his disciples that God had done something special for them. In Matthew chapter 13, verses 16 and 17, he said, "But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For assuredly I say to you that many prophets and righteous men desired to see what you see and did not see it, and to hear what you hear and did not hear it." Jesus' disciples 2,000 years ago, and today, are able to hear and see on a spiritual level because God has blessed their eyes and ears. Can you understand what Jesus taught? If you truly can, then God has blessed your eyes and ears too. Just as we're expected to use the blessings of physical sight and sound in a godly way, he expects us to use his blessings of spiritual insight as well. He doesn't give blessings just so we can have them. He expects us to use them as he instructs. At the end of the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 7, Jesus described 2 people, one who heard Jesus' teachings and obeyed them, and one who heard but did nothing. The first one successfully navigated the storms of life and prospered. The second was overwhelmed and lost everything. Hearing and seeing the truth is never enough. We must put it into practice as well. The hearing ear and the seeing eye. The Lord has made them both. When it comes to understanding the book of Proverbs, a wise person will take the time to consider the words of God, verse by verse.
Verse by Verse is a Life, Hope, and Truth podcast. Check out the show notes to find more free content, like videos, articles, and booklets in our Learning Center.